All right. Hey everybody, this is Chef Ashley Shep. I am going live to make some Italian, excuse me, to make some Italian garlic butter shrimp. So right now I have some butter. I don't think you can see because of my lighting. I have some butter in my cute pan that my hubby got for me. And I am just letting that melt a little bit. And I'm going to be adding in some, not garlic first, because actually you shouldn't add your garlic in at the beginning. You should add in a little bit later since it has a tendency to burn. So I'm going to add in some tomatoes. I have just Roma tomatoes. You can use pretty much any kind of tomatoes that you would like. And before I do that, let me go ahead and put the title in just so folks are joining us so they'll know what I'm making. And if you are joining us tonight for the first time, let me know where you're from and what you're having for dinner tonight, okay? And if you see me looking back and forth, it's because I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So I have a new setup this week just to try to see if this works out a little bit easier for you all. Okay, so got my post pen. Let's see. Okay. So, all right, thanks, Alicia. How are you? And we have Amber. Hey, Amber. So, so far I just have some butter in my pan, and I'm chopping up some tomatoes. And with this is going to be the base for my sauce. If you are watching what you're eating, or if you don't want to use butter, you can definitely use olive oil instead. So don't feel like you have to use butter. And I'm basically just dicing these. I have 3 Roma tomatoes. If you use a different kind of tomato, then obviously you can use a little less. So, cutting these up quickly. Just tossing them right directly into my pan. Turn it down just a little bit. If you're just joining us, definitely let us know what you are having for dinner tonight and where you're from. And on Facebook, we have Dawn. Hey, I'm Vicki. How are you doing? So we're making some garlic butter shrimp, Italian garlic butter shrimp. And I'm just chopping up some tomatoes real quick. And the size of the tomatoes, let's see if I can show you. It doesn't really matter how big they are. If you want, you can actually use canned tomatoes to save you some time. And if you want to add in a little extra flavor, you can get the stewed tomatoes that already have the Italian and the basil seasoning in it. I had these on hand, so I'm just chopping these up. And so I have this over low to medium heat. And just going to let those reduce a little bit. Let's see. See if anybody's brave enough to tell us what they're having for dinner. No judgment if you are not making dinner tonight. Even if it's takeout, I still like to know what people like to eat. So feel free to post in the comments. Okay. And I'm also going to go ahead and get all of those nice juices from the tomatoes and add those in there too. Okay. So that was 3 Roma tomatoes. You can use more or less. And you don't have to use Roma tomatoes. You can use a different kind. So I have those in there. I'm going to add in some garlic as well. Now, a lot of times with recipes, they'll say to do like 3 cloves of the garlic or 2. To me, garlic is just an approximation. I put in as much as I want. So I encourage you to do the same thing. So I did, this was teaspoons. I did 3 teaspoons. I'm just going to see how that is and do it to taste. I didn't put it in at the beginning because it can actually burn when you put in your oils, and a lot of times that will give you that gross taste if you're putting it in. A lot of recipes tell you to put the garlic in with the olive oil or the butter at the beginning, and I just tend to wait a little bit just because I don't want it to burn. But I still got to give it some time to kind of get that nice flavor going on. So, all right, over on Instagram, Amber says she's having ribs. Oh, okay. Amber, what kind of ribs? Pork, beef, let us know. And she's doing leftovers. And Krista's joining us. Mama T's joining us. And Things I Love Box. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's see. Over on Facebook, Dawn's having chicken. Okay, Dawn, what kind of chicken? She said she put hers in the crock pot, which is an excellent way to save some time. That's normally what I like to do. So, okay. Next, I'm going to add in some Italian seasoning. And this one is a blend. I don't know if y'all can see that over on Facebook. This one's a blend. This is from Kroger. It doesn't have to be a blend. If you'd like to make your own, that's perfectly fine. I just get it already blended together just because it saves time. And so I'm going to add in a tablespoon and a half, probably 2 tablespoons to it to give it some nice flavor. And with this, same thing. This is kind of just as you like it. If you like your seasonings a little stronger, like I do, I tell people to season their food. Then I go a little bit heavier. And usually if it's not something like a pepper, like a cayenne pepper, red pepper flakes, regular pepper, things like that, you're okay to go a little bit heavier on the seasonings because it's not going to be too spicy. So, and salt. Be careful with the salt. So, y'all know I don't like to use a lot of salt. So, be careful if you're adding it in. All right, let's see. Trying to go back and forth and manage. Okay. Okay, Don said just a regular chicken. A regular chicken, Don, is better than no chicken. So kudos to you. All right, so that's getting nice and lovely. I'm going to add in some garlic powder and onion powder. Same thing. These are kind of what I use for a base of most of my recipes. Just kind of add like a layer of flavor. And I'm actually going to use this on my shrimp that I have. So I'm going to season them first before I put them in there. And then I'm also going to add some into my mix as well. And if you are just tuning in, I ask people to share where they are from and what they're having for dinner. So feel free to join in. Okay. Another ingredient that I'm going to add in, I'll wait on the basil, is some white cooking wine. I'm not a big wine drinker, but cooking wine is definitely something that will help bring out that Italian flavor. It'll have time to reduce, so it'll add a nice sentiment in there. So I'm going to do just a tablespoon of this. If you like wine, you can add more, obviously. If you have kids and you're worried about them, it'll cook out, so you don't have to worry about them with the wine. So no worries. I'll put that in there as well. And then, okay, so I'm going to do my onion powder, garlic powder. Make sure I'm not missing anything. I'm going to put half a tablespoon of garlic powder and a half a tablespoon of onion powder in there as well. Let's see. All right, Kim is joining us over on Instagram. Hey, Kim. All right, Kim said she's from Jamaica that has spaghetti and meat sauce and a side salad. Simple but good. Sometimes simple is all it takes to get the job done. A lot of times we kind of overcomplicate things and we make it so that we feel like, oh, I just made something I always make for dinner. But every time that you do that, instead of going out to eat or picking up something in the drive-thru, then you're saving your family money. You're saving sodium. And a lot of times if you do it right, you can save time too. So, all right, I did the onion powder, garlic powder. I'm going to put that up. Oh, and tomato paste. For this, I'm going to do probably about half a cup. If you just have tomato sauce, that's fine as well. The paste is going to make it a little bit thicker. It is totally up to you. I'm going to scoop that directly into there. And as you see, I'm not measuring, but you know how that goes. So if you'd like to measure, that's fine. A lot of times I don't, which kind of makes it hard when I'm telling people recipes. So if you're making this at home, a lot of it's trial and error. So you can definitely try it out, see how it tastes, add a little bit more, take some, or you can't take it out after you make it, but add some in if it's not enough, like we talked about. All right, and I'm actually going to use some. So here's a tip. If you have your sauce or something or your seasoning and it gets stuck inside of your utensils, you can use water or broth, which is going to be my next ingredient. If you have, I'm using stock, you can use chicken stock, You can use veggie stock if you're a pescatarian, if you don't want to use chicken stock. And I try to get the low sodium version, just because I don't like to have a lot of added sodium in my diet and in my diet for my family. But whatever version you can get works. So anyway, back to the point. If you have stuff that's stuck in here, this paste is kind of stuck into my spoon. I can use my next ingredient to kind of get it out. Swish it around, or just swirl it around in your container. If you're not going to put it back in the container for your seasonings, then just do it like that. I'm going to do a half a cup of broth. For this, I am going to measure just because with broth, I feel like it's a little harder to see how much it is. And this is going to help stretch out my paste, my tomato paste a little bit. But what I was saying, if you, like, I just have this container left over. It doesn't have that much in it. So that you're not throwing away food, I'm just going to toss this in here, even though it's chicken stock and chicken broth. It works out fine. So I'm going to mix that up and let it simmer a little bit. Okay. I'm going to move that out of the way. Make sure I have all my ingredients. Okay, so one thing you can do to boost your flavor is to do a zest. And that sounds really fancy, but it's not. This is a zester. You might have heard of a microplaner. And basically, I've already washed my lemon. And so I'm just going to zest directly into my dish. And a lot of recipes will call for lime juice or lemon juice. And sometimes that can dry out. I am going to put lemon juice in here. But if, for example, if you wanted to do like fajitas or something, but you didn't want to dry out your meat, if it's chicken, you could just do the zest and some olive oil, and that would make it so that you're still getting that essence or that flavor without having to use the actual juices. So I'm going to zest one lemon inside of here. And the lemon's kind of what makes it not just a regular Italian dish. Like if you're, like Kim said, she had spaghetti, which is nothing wrong with spaghetti. But if this is something that you want to just add a different little flavor to, lemon or lime zest, even if you have an orange, just kind of experiment and see the different things that you can do to make dishes that you love a little bit different. Okay. All right. We are almost done. Let me check my time. All right. I'm at 12 minutes. So I have my zest, and I'm going to use this to get the back of it out. And it smells amazing. Once again, I'm just going to pour some broth over here to get those little pieces of zest out. So, okay, I'm going to give it another stir. And the amount of broth or the amount of tomato paste kind of depends on you. If you want your sauce a little thicker, you can add more paste. If you want it a little thinner, then add more broth. Okay. All right. So now I'm actually going to add in my shrimp directly in. Okay. Don't judge my paper plate. Just a heads up. Okay. So I just did it because I peeled them, cleaned them, things like that. And it was the closest thing I had on hand, so it's what I used. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit, and I'm going to add my shrimp directly into my sauce. And it's going to soak up that flavor. And it's going to cook at the same time. With shrimp, you don't want to cook it too long because it can get kind of rubbery. So if you are doing this for meal prep, if you're using shrimp and you are going to be reheating it, I would say undercook it just a little bit. So that way, when you reheat it up, it'll be fine. I don't do that for my clients in the kitchen just because of food safety, illness issues, things like that. But if you're doing it for yourself, feel free to undercook it just a little bit. I'm going to make sure my shrimp are nestled or a little hidden under my sauce. Okay. And then I'm going to let it cook for about 2 to 3 minutes or until it's no longer see-through or translucent. And it'll be ready to go. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. I also have some pasta that I just had on hand. It was already cooked, so I'm going to toss that in there too. If you don't want to use pasta, you have a lot of other options you can use. You can do it over potatoes. You could do quinoa, lots of different choices. All right, I'm gonna check out the comments and see if there's anybody that had a question or anything they needed to share. Okay, so hey Palmetto Peaches, thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. Okay, Amber said she put her ribs in the crock pot too. Okay, very smart, Amber, especially since those are gonna get nice and tender and juicy and things like that. There. Okay, doing one final scan to make sure I included all my ingredients. Yes, okay. So finally, I'm gonna go ahead and chop some parsley. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with parsley. It's kind of one of those things that all recipes tell you to add, not all, lots of recipes tell you to add in as a garnish at the end. And I feel like it really doesn't taste like anything. I might be wrong. I'm gonna let you guys decide in the polls. Let's see if I can make this show up. Let's see. Let me know if you can see the poll on Facebook. It won't let you do it on Instagram, but let me know. Do you like parsley? Do you think it's a waste of time? Is it a waste of money? Things like that. I'm gonna chop it up and put it in there. My preference for this though would be something like basil would be really good in this dish. It works really nicely with the tomatoes. Rosemary even would be a nice touch, but I'm just using parsley because that's what I have on here. So I'm gonna chop this up. My shrimp should be done soon. I turned it down a little bit so they wouldn't overcook. And since my already cooked, I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in there as well. Let me get some to wipe my hands off one moment. Okay. Yeah, so while my shrimp's cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the pasta as well at the same time. Other great additions, if you had artichokes, if you're an artichoke fan, you could put those in here. If you had sun-dried tomatoes, that would be nice as well. And this is a little less than a pack of cooked pasta. So I'm just gonna mix that in. Let me let that sit on top of my shrimp. So, so it will be done in a few more minutes and I will be ready to eat. So I will post a picture for you all and I'll also post the recipe. Let me know if you have any questions. You can ask me now. I'll stay on for a few minutes or a few moments for you. If you have questions you want to ask me now, feel free to comment. Let's see. And scroll down. All right, so hey Heather, Dawn said, okay. Don said, will frozen shrimp work? Yes, Don, this was frozen shrimp. I don't want you to think that I went to the store today and got some fresh shrimp because this definitely came out of my freezer. If you want, I can show you the packet of it because I usually get it from Kroger. It is the large shrimp. It's normally I like to get the peeled and deveined ones already just because that saves me time. In this case, this was the easy peel, so it just ended up working out. Yes, totally, frozen shrimp works fine. Okay, let's see. Heather made a nasty face with parsley. I agree, Heather. I don't think parsley is really, correct me if I'm wrong, someone else who knows, but let me know. Parsley doesn't really do anything for me, but I am going to add it in here because it makes things look cute. But definitely a rosemary or a basil would be really good in this dish. Okay, let me scroll down. Hey, Miss Pam. Hey, Carmen. Okay, so Heather said, did I take the tails off before I put the shrimp in there? So that's a good question. There is some debate about whether or not you should cook your shrimp with the tails on. And people have asked me that before. And it really just depends. Some parts of the world, their cuisine, they like to leave it on because you can actually eat the tails. I never have. But in some cultures, you can eat the tails. And also, from a restaurant standpoint, it actually makes the shrimp look bigger. So a lot of times you're at a restaurant, you're thinking, oh, I got this nice pasta dish, or I got some Asian dish or whatever, and they left the tails on, and you're sitting there thinking, this is so annoying, I need to take the tails off. And you wonder why the people in the back didn't. Partially it's because it makes it look larger. And the food that you get at restaurants a lot of times is put into your plate by weight. And so what that means is that if they're able to add in the weight of the tails, then technically you're not getting as much shrimp that you would probably eat. So one little trick that they use. So great question, Heather. Okay. Caroline said no flavor in the parsley. Agree. Let's see. Okay, did I thaw the frozen shrimp first? Yes. So anytime you are dealing with frozen food, unless you are using a pressure cooker, you want to defrost it fully. If you're putting it in the crock pot, you want to defrost it fully. Part of that is because, especially for larger meats and larger foods, if you are putting it in a crock pot, it's not going to cook evenly if it's not defrosted. And you don't want to, and that's going to increase chances of bacteria, chances of foodborne illness, things like that. So you definitely want to thaw all of your foods before you are cooking it on some type of heat like this, unless you're putting it in the pressure cooker. Okay. All right. So my shrimp are done. I'm going to turn that off. Let's see some more questions. All right. Carolyn said, yeah, you were just talking about parsley. I don't get it. I'm going to put it in here because it's cute, but I don't get it. Okay, Caroline, and you're from, I'm trying to remember where you're from. Brazil, Caroline? I can't remember, but if that's, okay, so she said that they leave the tails on down there. Nice. Adds flavor. Oh, wait, you leave them in, but you don't eat them. Okay, gotcha. Thank you for that clarification. All right, let me look on Instagram and see. Okay, so Proverb Sheila's on. Thanks for tuning in. I'm making something besides dessert. I know you like to talk about me always having dessert. Thank you, Courtney, for tuning in. We were making some Italian butter garlic shrimp, and my shrimp is done. I'm going to add in that parsley right now. And to make it look cute, and I'll do a zoom in for y'all, an after picture. That one's too big. That one's coming out. So I'm just checking to see if there's any more questions that you all have. Let's see. On Facebook or Instagram. Yes, Heather, you do need to defrost your food before you put it in the crock pot. I find that a lot of people don't do that, and that's something that can cause illness. Okay. One other thing I wanted to tell you about is I thought about adding in some squash. You can totally add extra vegetables into this. You could spiralize them, or you could just literally chop them up the way they were. I didn't feel like it, so I didn't. But this is a good way to add in your veggies as well. Bell peppers would work nice in here. Onions would work nice in here. So it's just a really quick dish that you can throw together, and your family will enjoy it. If you don't eat shrimp, you can obviously switch out the meat for something else. You could do without meat. You could do a meat substitute. So there's a lot of options that you could do here. So, all right, it is time to eat. Thanks for tuning in. I will post pics and the recipes. Make sure you vote in the poll. I'm not sure if it shows up for you. It's a new feature on Facebook. But make sure you vote in the poll. Let us know what you feel about parsley. And also let us know what you're eating for dinner. This has been Chef Ashley Shep, signing off. Have a good one.